Hello, everybody. This is Naja Hall with I Know I'm Crazy with Naja Hall podcast, available on every single one of your favorite streaming platforms. Now, today, if you are listening to the sound of my voice, guess what? This is yet another one of those extra special audio video versions of the podcast. So if you'll go to my YouTube, my website, Facebook, Instagram, wherever, I want you to go and watch this particular episode. All right? Okay. So we're here. Today's guest is Judge Vonda Bailey. Now, Judge Vonda is a Texas native. And a lot of you might, if you don't recognize her name, if you're watching this, or the moment you hear the sound of her voice, you're going to be like, oh my God, I've heard that lady somewhere. So I'm scrolling through TikTok one day, guys, and I see this particular judge, this authority figure, straight up roasting, sizzling, rotisserieing, is if that's even a word, rotisserieing people in her courtroom. Now, you all know that everything I do as a coach, as a life coach, as an expert, is surrounded in family and justice for families. And I've had my own personal dealings with family court. And those of you that are fans of the show, you have too. And so it was like, I wanted to just go and sit in her courtroom and just serve her muffins all day. The things that I saw that she was doing by way of justice in family court, number one, is unheard of. It was fair. It was right. It was controversial, but isn't everything? Isn't, like, you think about it. When people are coming to family court, you're talking about their children, their money issues that hit them where it hurts most. And all of us have seen people do and say some very vile things to, air quote, win in family court. And of course, that comes at the expense of the children. So Judge Vonda, as a matter of fact, I'm going to hush. Check out this clip right here of Judge Vonda doing her thing.
You submitted on his behalf. He makes about $104,000.
That sounds about right.
It sounds about right? Mm-hmm.
Can't
That's
pay
a nice
for
ring
his
you
child.
have on.
Oh, thank you.
Is that new? He just bought that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Interesting. Okay. Anything, do you all have any kids or anything?
Yes, we have 2 kids together.
2 kids, okay.
Cheated on me with her.
Excuse me?
I was saying he cheated on me with
Are
her.
you mad? Are you little mad or big mad?
I think I'm big mad.
Oh, okay.
You know, because
you know what? You're going to have to get over it because this is not a therapy court, okay?
Right, okay.
You're going to have to get over it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need you taunting her, okay?
Right.
That's not cute. Ma'am, all this attitude, you know, you guys really need to try to be friends and get along. Well, you don't necessarily have to be friends. You should try to get along, considering that this is your child with her husband, and that is your stepchild.
I guess so.
You guess. No, that's what it is. So you two need to start trying to get along, and you need to get over yourself and stop being so mad.
Okay.
Woo! Now that's an intro for you, right? All right, so I'm going to tell you a lot about Judge Vonda right after this intro. I Know I'm Crazy with Naja Hall.
I know I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. Naja Hall.
Okay, everybody. So Judge Vonda is a native of Dallas, Texas, where she is the managing partner of the law office of Vonda Bailey, PLLC. She provides legal assistance in family law, which includes child support, child custody, divorce, and adoption. All the things that we talk about today, y'all. We are about to get into it. Miss Bailey is a proud graduate of David W. Carter High School class of 2003. After high school, she received both her bachelor's and master's from the University of Texas at Arlington. She realized her passion for advocating for others, so she pursued law and graduated in 2014 from the Thurgood Marshall School of Law in Houston, Texas. Judge Vonda has so many accolades, but over the course of this podcast, we'll get to talk about them. And of course, if you want to know more in detail about Judge Vonda, then visit vondabaileyforjudge.com. Judge Vonda! Hey, girl, hey!
Hi.
How was that for an introduction? I hope that I made you proud a little bit.
You did. It was great.
Okay, Judge Vonda, I have so many questions for you, so I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. First and foremost, these YouTube videos, this TikTok, this Instagram. Now, is this a show? Are these real people? What's the backstory behind these viral videos that we're seeing you in?
Okay, so it is a reenactment, if you may, of things that I've seen in family court with some of my cases, as well as some that I watched that I didn't necessarily agree with the outcomes. So the ones that you see that are the most controversial, those are the ones that I didn't necessarily agree with the judge. And people were messaging me and they were like, man, I have all these questions about child support. And I said, I cannot answer all of these questions one by one. So how can I figure out a way to help everybody on a massive scale? So I was watching couples court one Saturday morning and I was like, what is this? I said, wait a minute. You have divorce court, couples court, paternity court. Why isn't anybody talking about child support? That's exactly what I'm going to do. And that gave rise to support court with Judge Vonda Bailey.
Judge Vonda. So some of the cases, they evoke human empathy because a lot of people that watch them, they've either, like you said, they've been in these situations and they've been on the wrong side of justice, meaning something completely unfair happened to them.
Mhm.
Or they've been people that have been touched and affected and offended by something you said because it hit kind of close to home. And you know, they say if you can't say amen, say ouch.
Yeah.
What type of comments are you seeing from people? Are you saying, yes, I agree with you? Or are they saying, you know what, Judge Vonda, you don't know what you're talking about?
Most part, people are like, this was fair. I like this outcome.
Does your
There
partner
are a
share
few
kids with a
videos,
loony?
the ones
Are your
that I
stepkids
didn't
driving you
necessarily
up a
agree with
wall?
when they
Is your
happened.
partner failing miserably
And
at
that was the
setting
emotion
boundaries?
and the reaction I
Well,
wanted out of
VIP
people because
Stepmom
that's
is where
exactly
you
how
need to
I
be.
felt. I
We're
was
an
like,
exclusive
I didn't
private
think that was
community
right,
just for
but
stepmoms,
me
and we'd love
practicing
for you to
law
join
and
our
knowing what the
tribe.
law
Each
says,
month, our members enjoy
it was
private
right. Now,
conversations,
to the
podcasts,
average person, when you're
expert
talking about
workshops, a
emotions, was it
subscription to
fair? Maybe
Stepmom
not,
Magazine,
but
and
according to
monthly
the law,
live
they acted
Zoom
within the
meetings.
law.
If you're ready
So
to
I get
join
a
a
bunch
diverse
of
community
those
that
where
is
it's like,
committed
this
to
was
making sure
fair
you
and
live your best
I
life,
like the judge, but I
visit
don't really
VIP
like the outcome.
Stepmom
And then
today.
the ones that
We'll
are
save a
just
seat
far
for you.
left, the ones that are
VIP
extremely
stepmoms.
Democrat,
That's you and
call
me.
me everything under the sun.
You know,
So
those are the ones that are big mad. They mad.
yeah, they are big mad, especially the one video that went viral from World Star. I mean, I got hate mail from that one.
What did the hate mail say, Judge Vonda?
I mean, one guy, he sent me a long paragraph pretty much telling me I am a coon and I work for the white man. I support white supremacy. They hope that my family and I have a bad day every day. Um, I mean, it was terrible. And then another one said I needed to be shot. I mean, they were pretty bad.
You
And
know
then,
what?
I
And the
mean,
thing
they
is,
get really violent.
I've probably watched 100 of your videos. I'm a super fan at this point. And I've
Thank
seen
you.
you give the hand of the law heavily to not only white folk, black folk, Latino, our Asian brethren and sisters. Like, you don't really hold back.
You can call me the can woman because anybody can get it. That's how I look at it.
So why family law? Why did you become so passionate about this sector of law?
As you stated, with the personal experience you had in family court, I too had a similar experience. And it happened while I was a probation officer, actually. People started calling me after I graduated law school, and I was like, I'm not interested in family law, but it found me. And so when I started practicing, I was like, you know what? I relate more to people in this area of law than I think I do. And so it was a sigh of relief when people would come in my office and, they're high strung, they're up here and they're like, you don't understand what I'm going through. And I'm like, look up my name. You can find my child support situation. And they're like, oh my God, you went through this? And I was like, yeah, I'm a human. It happens. So that was real refreshing for me to see, you know what, you do have a lot more empathy and compassion for this particular area than you have in any other area. And honestly, quite frankly, to be able to be an efficient family law attorney, in my opinion, again, you
Efficient.
have to have compassion for people. You have to.
What makes an efficient versus an inefficient? Because we get so many people writing into this particular podcast saying, oh, my lawyer doesn't care about me. They just want more retainer. They want more money. What makes, I want you to speak to the people that are desperately looking for representation. How do you know when you found the one?
Well, it's actually a loaded question, but there are a couple of
Loaded
things
questions,
to
Vonda.
there are actually a couple of things you look for. For me, I'm a real person. I'm very transparent. So what I explain to people is this: if you can reach and touch the person that you're trying to hire, and you can see the type of person that they are on social media and everything like that, they're not trying to be hidden, because lawyers do a great job of trying to hide themselves to be this mystique, and not let people get too close to them. But for me, if you're that type of person that needs that one-on-one interaction, I say the best thing to look at is the person's social media pages, because that tells you a lot about them. If they're a family oriented, if they're a family law attorney, they should have pictures and things on their page that resemble family orientation. It shouldn't just be them. That's something I think that's extremely important that people take for granted.
Yeah.
After, you're, of course, word of mouth, you're going to hear, okay, hire this person, ask questions. Why do I need to hire this person? My situation, I've told it to you. What would make me relate to this person the best? And then after you're able to get that information, then you look at what the attorney charges. Quite frankly, I'm going to be honest. If an attorney charges very little in family court, you may want to run the other way, because these type of situations are not cookie cutter by no means. Not every case is the same. It cannot be approached the same. Therefore, someone who's charging very little money, you have to ask yourself, what am I not getting by getting this little bit of, amount that they're charging me for my case? And then after you get in the office with the attorney, ask questions. Just like you're interviewing us to see if you want to retain us for your case, we're also interviewing you as a client to see, can this relationship work? And if the rapport is there, the connection is there, you feel like, this is somebody who I believe is going to fight on my behalf, then you hire that attorney. But if you get any type of red flags, I don't care what it is, flutters in your stomach, that's like, you know what, this is probably the bad idea, not the best idea, 9 times out of 10, you're probably right, because I hear people say that all the time. I felt something when I was in that office. I went with it anyway, and now I'm $10,000 out of pocket.
And no results.
What do I do?
Terrible results.
Yes, right. Yes. So those are just little things that people will look for.
Follow your gut, follow your intuition. I like that she said that. So you mentioned your own particular situation and it was available. So that means I can ask you about it. What was your own situation that made you say, all right, something's got to give. I got to be an active part of the change here?
It's interesting. Years ago, prior to having children, I didn't necessarily believe in child support. And not that I didn't know the law or anything like that. I just was like, I don't think I would ever do that, because if I have a child, I can raise my child on my own. That was always my mentality. Well, after having my son, I said, although I can financially take care of him, I have a very strong support system. Why should I have to be tasked with doing it on my own? So my son's father, he pretty much did not want to be active in his life, and he didn't want to pay child support. He just wanted me to let him loose altogether. It took me a year to finally say, you know what? No, this is not right. You're out here. He was in a relationship taking care of other people's kids. So I was like, it's only right that you take care of the only one at the time, that was biologically yours. So that's how I ended up in my own child support situation. And that's been 12 years. My son just turned 12 on Monday.
Oh, and I think I've seen a photo of him on one of your pages. I'm pretty sure I have. Yes. So then how did the relationship pan out? Because I know when you take somebody to court, it's almost like a declaration of war. That means we ain't mediating anymore. I can't just call you up and we negotiate on the phone. This means your people need to talk to my people, and we're going to let a stranger decide on the fate of our child's financial, emotional, physical future. So then how did it pan out for you and your family?
Honestly, it's not something that I wanted, because I really wanted to work with him. Yeah. Because once the state get involved, they're going to go based off whatever your income is. And I wasn't even looking for anything close to what he was making. I was like, hey, you can pay $25 today, $30 the next week. I didn't care.
You were to work with this person and say, listen, I just want you to, the relationship is done, whatever. I just want you to understand, did your son eat today? What type of shirt did he wear? Does he have clothes? But that wasn't happening.
Nothing was happening. He wasn't coming around.
Let's
He
talk
didn't
some.
want to do anything pretty much. He just wanted to go on about his business. And it didn't really cause a war. He didn't fight me. He literally signed off on the first document and was done with it. And the next time I heard from him, which was years later, that was because the attorney general, he owed back child support. And so they reached out to him to get that money from his, I believe his retirement or his 401, one of those. They reached out to get it from him. And I was in law school at the time.
Mhm.
So, and then, I mean, still to this day, our relationship is pretty much non-existent. Like from the day that I found out I was pregnant,
Okay.
everything changed for me and him. We dated on and off for 6 years. This was his first child. I wouldn't have had any idea that he would not have been a great dad, but he bamboozled me.
He bamboozled you, and the minimum that he could do is just provide for this seed that is out here with his blood.
That was the
flowing through his veins.
minimum. And my son, anybody that knows me and know my son, he is a great kid. He's, like I say, he's 12, very smart, very intelligent, very compassionate. He's in touch with his emotions. Like he emails me on a daily basis just to say, hey mom, I hope you're having a great day. You know, he's a great kid. So for someone not to want to be a part of his life, his dad, that's unfortunate. But my husband is an amazing dad. So he didn't really miss out on anything.
Been a great dad. He's been a great father figure for him.
Great father, yes.
So how can you speak to the mothers out there that are experiencing something similar when they're feeling my child might be suffering emotionally because this rejection from a complete stranger? Because let's face it, if you abandon your kids since they've been small, you are a stranger to them. But a child, I feel like a child's soul, they know. And if we don't do the work, then our child can feel that that they're not getting acknowledged, and they feel rejection from a peer stranger. So what are you supposed to do just to help your baby to feel whole? Does your partner share kids with a loony? Are your stepkids driving you up a wall? Is your partner failing miserably at setting boundaries? Well, VIP Stepmom is where you need to be. We're an exclusive private community just for stepmoms, and we'd love for you to join our tribe. Each month, our members enjoy private conversations, podcasts, expert workshops, a subscription to Stepmom Magazine, and monthly live Zoom meetings. If you're ready to join a diverse community that is committed to making sure you live your best life, visit VIP Stepmom today. We'll save a seat for you.
VIP Stepmoms, that's you and me.
Well, the one thing I would say not to do first is to feel like you have to overcompensate by buying and doing to make them feel like they're missing out on something. It's not necessary. The one thing I would say that I did with my son, I just loved him. I just loved on him like I normally would. At times, every now and then he had asked a question about his dad. I never said anything bad about his dad, never bashed the other parent. The way I look at it is this: your child is made up of 2 DNA makeups. That's yours and that's the other parent's. So if you disparage the other parent, you're disparaging part of your child. Part of their self-identity revolves around who you are. So the other person, you're disparaging them, whether they know them or not. You're actually beating up on your child's self-identity. So you never want to do that. My response was always, that's something you have to ask your dad, son. That's something you have to ask your dad. And he would be adamant, like, why doesn't he come get me? Why doesn't he call me? Why doesn't he do these things? And again, I would always tell him, son, that's something you're going to have to ask your dad. One day, the time will come where you'll be able to have that conversation with him like you're having with me. But unfortunately, I cannot answer those questions. Just know that I'm here. I support you. Whatever you need, talk to me, because you will see little things in a child's behavior when their other parent is absent. My son, when his dad did try to come in and he did like the popcorn thing, I saw a change in my son's behavior in school. It was like he couldn't even explain it. He was just frustrated, because he couldn't wrap his mind around why you're here today and not here tomorrow.
So then what do
So
you do
yeah.
with the popcorn thing? Because I see some parents say, I'm just going to let them come when they can. And then other parents are like, no, you need to protect your child from their other parent. So what's your perspective on that?
My perspective is this. Always have a conversation with the other parent. Don't make it an ultimatum. And I think that's where a lot of women we go wrong. Don't say you can't come over here if, right? Because at that point, you're alienating them from the child. It's much productive and effective if you go to that parent and say, hey, look, I don't like you coming in and out of his or her life. I would like for you to be consistent. If consistency is something you cannot give the child, then you need to reevaluate what it is that you really want to do in terms of this relationship you want to build with the child. When you approach it like that, you're essentially saying the same thing. You're essentially still waving your finger like, no, you can't pop in and pop out, but you're putting the ball back in their court to think about it, to say, you know what, I am doing that. And they'll come to their own conclusion whether or not they want to stay away or whether or not they're going to improve their behavior. It happens all the time. I mean, you do have those outliers, right, that don't care either way, and they're going to either keep doing it or they're going to stay away. But for the vast majority, when you approach them like that, the response is different. I think that's where a lot of us women go wrong, the way we approach, especially Black men. And that's another thing with those comments. There are a lot of Black men out here who really don't like their mothers. And that's that's their first love. And it's evident because when it comes to dealing with other Black women, like how if you look at my comments, they're extremely disrespectful. So it's like, this man doesn't know me from a can of paint. Why is he so upset with me? And then I think about it.
Mother, that from his grandmother, from his auntie, from that first little Black girl that
Somebody
on the playground. He's projecting that, and he doesn't even
correct.
recognize that.
Exactly. And because we as women, and I mean, we as Black women, we are tasked. And even though we want to act like that's not our business and not our job, but it is. We are tasked with trying to understand that, because I feel like if you understand that from a psychological standpoint with some of these men, you will recognize that you can't talk to them like this. Because if you talk to them like this, you're putting them back into that particular childhood of growing up that they are trying to put to the furthest part of their mind. You're not going to get a positive response out of them like this. It's always going to be open-ended. Who, what, when, where, why, how, explain, describe.
So basically, don't be emasculating.
No.
Treat them as if they're human. And I don't like tone policing, but be very mindful of your tone, as you said, and make requests, not demands.
You nailed it perfectly.
Just do those things when you're basically treat them like an adult, even though you might not have any respect for them whatsoever as a parent, or even as a man. You still got to talk to them like they're a grown-up if you want to elicit a certain response. And like you said, some of them, Judge Vonda, it doesn't matter how you speak to them. Some of them aren't going to do right if you give them $1 million. Not going to happen.
They're just going to be forever stuck in their feelings. And a lot of my clients are men, and I tell them all the time, Facebook and social media is not the place to air out the mother of your child. It's not. You go to court for that. That's not the place. People will entertain it, but guess what? At the end of the day, they can't do anything about it but talk about you.
That's all they're gonna do. Did you see so-and-so's posts? That's all they gonna do. So then what advice do you have for fathers or mothers, people that are, you mentioned the word alienation, and I want to go into that a little bit, because alienation is very real, even the most covert to just straight up obvious alienation. What advice
it is horrible
to parents who feel as if their child is completely gone? That means they don't have the money to pay for an attorney. That's first. They might not understand their rights. A lot of men I see are convinced, Judge, the courts aren't in my favor. The courts are in the mother's favor. What do you say to this man to kind of this parent, I'm sorry, to kind of light a fire under their butts so that they can exercise their rights as a parent and have a relationship with their child?
Just tell them bluntly, you need to get your shit together. I mean, quite frankly, you do. Because at the end of the day, what people fail to realize, the longer you sit back and allow alienation to occur, the more you're in agreement with it every day. And you can say all day long, I don't agree with it, Judge, I don't agree with it. The first thing the judge is going to say, well, what have you done to show this person that you are not okay with them not allowing you to exercise your visitation with your children? And this goes for, I see this happen very, very frequently with men. They'll sit back and they'll send a text message. They'll get discouraged because for the most part, men are not confrontational like women are. So they'll sit back and like, I don't want to fight with her. Well, the longer you don't fight with her, the more she thinks it's okay. And the more you're telling the judge that you agree with it. So then when you do end up in court and you go before this judge, it's been a year, let's say 6 months to a year since you've seen your child. And you're like, I want custody or I want to have visitation. And the judge is like, well, no, we're not going to start there. We need some reunification to occur because
like,
it's been 6 months to a year.
But this parent's probably like, it's not my fault. Why should I have to reunify and go through this whole process when it's the other parent's fault? And you're saying the judge on paper, this complete stranger that don't really care about you or your child, they're doing their jobs. Just from a paperwork perspective, like, okay, it's been a year. What have you done?
Yeah. And quite frankly, it is your fault. I'm not saying that alienation is the parent's fault, right? You can't stop somebody from trying to alienate, like you said, covertly, overtly, you can't stop that. What you can do is show that you don't approve of it by fighting them and taking them to court. Even if you cannot hire an attorney, speak to an attorney and ask them, what are the things I need to do in order to make them be held responsible for violating my rights? The lawyer will walk you through what it is you need to do. I do it all the time. Make sure that you send a text. First of all, make sure you're in compliance with the order. Make sure you're going to the place where you're supposed to be.
Order, though, even because I hear a lot of people say the order is stupid. Well, even if you don't like the order.
Even if you don't like it, you got to follow it, because in order to enforce an order, it's not enough to show that this person is violating it. You have to show that you're in compliance. So wherever it says meet, you have to be there at that time. Send a text message, take a picture, whatever you have to do, go in the store to show, if it's a gas station, buy a Gatorade or something to show the timestamp that you were there when you were supposed to be there. Call the police, get a police report, so it shows date, time, location, and take them to court. You don't need an attorney to do those things. I mean, it's easier if you have an attorney to argue it for you in court, but to get to court, you don't need an attorney for that. Those are things that are within your control that you can do. The problem is that a lot of parents don't want to do all that because they feel like, I shouldn't have to do all that. No, you shouldn't, but the reality of it is you do.
I shouldn't have to go on a diet to lose these 20 pounds I gained over quarantine, but guess what?
Listen,
I do.
I just finished working out this morning.
Yeah. So then let's talk about cases and then some of the experience that you've seen behind the bench and as a litigator. Can you think back to any of those heart-wrenching cases where you knew that a miscarriage of justice has happened? Is there something that sticks out in your mind? One particular family, one particular case that's just like, that one was a horrible situation.
Yeah, this one case I had, I represented the mother on it. Well, let me back up. Before she came to me, she was representing herself.
Okay.
She was served, and that's why on support court, I always tell people, those educational segments, when you're served for court, make sure you show up, because the show will go on. Literally, the court can move forward with it. So she didn't show up for court. She comes and hires me after the fact. And she's like, I need to undo this order. Well, I'm confused because it was an enforcement order. So an enforcement literally just holds someone in contempt for not following the order as is written, right? Well, this particular judge took that and flipped custody in the same order. So when she didn't show up for court on an enforcement to be held in contempt, she actually lost custody of her child too. Excuse me. So I'm confused because I'm like, you cannot do that. There is case law in Texas, and I mean, not even in Texas, in Dallas, because that's where it took place, that says you absolutely cannot make changes to an underlying order by way of a motion for contempt, essentially.
But this judge did that, and so
She did it. I brought it out to her attention twice. She did not care. Even with the case law saying you absolutely can't do it. And I mean, she told me, I mean, I see the case law, yeah, but I mean, I can't change the order at this point.
yeah, you
Judge,
can.
yes, you can.
Because in order, you sign off on it. So that means you need to get some white out and scratch your.
Let's back up. That means you should have read it before you put your signature on it. So that particular case rubbed me the wrong way for two reasons. Not only did the judge not read it, the attorney presented it to her. He knew it was wrong because we know we cannot do that. But you do have attorneys that are grimy like that, and you have judges that will allow certain attorneys to get away with stuff like that. The type of person I am, when I go before the court with one of my cases, even if something is not necessarily beneficial to my client, I have a duty to be honest. I have a duty to show candor to the court first. So I'm not going to present something to a judge that I know is improper, because then my license is on the line.
Yeah.
So that one case, that one really, it was the second one. This one really was pulled at my heartstrings.
Let me ask some questions about this first one, because so you're saying she was only there to respond to a contempt order. Somebody filed a contempt charge against her. She was responding to that. And I'm assuming the contempt was probably a claim that the child was being kept away, correct? Something like that. Okay. And so when she responded to that, did she?
But she didn't show up. She didn't show up.
Oh, she didn't.
She got defaulted.
Oh, so default judgment turned the child over. So that means the other parent called her and was like, "Hey, I have custody now. I'm coming to pick my kid up." How does that go?
Pretty much he did. But the issue is, it's not that she got a default, because the judge could have entered a default and just held her in contempt. The judge was wrong for holding her in contempt and making part of her contempt losing custody. You can't do that.
Well, that's a punishment then.
Exactly. And it was an improper punishment. So I'm like.
So did she end up getting the child back? Did it go to another court?
Child still is with dad to this day. And it was unfortunate because I told her in order to do anything, she had to file an appeal with the appellate court. Well, of course, appeals are very expensive. And she had to, it took her time to come up with it.
How much is an appeal? Like, you have to pay for the lawyer, you have to pay for the paperwork to get filed.
You have to pay for the attorney to do the paperwork. It's very tedious. So with appellate briefs, they're very specific. You have to be a certain font size. It has to be written in a certain font. You have to have a table of contents. It has to be justified. It is very, very tedious to do. So they normally my appeals start around $15,000. They're expensive.
Okay. So look, listen, y'all don't want to go to appellate court. Get it right the first time.
And that's the thing. And not all the time does the judge get it right the first time. What happened with my client, it took her like 6 months or so to raise the money to pay for the brief. So by the time we got into appellate court, they said she let too much time lapse.
So if it takes you a year, because everybody doesn't just have $15,000 laying around in their mattress. So if it takes a parent a year and a half, 2 years just to come up with that extra money, because you got to think about how much Americans, even, I know we have a lot of international listeners. I don't know how much your country per capita is, but here they say the average American doesn't even have $1,000 in their savings account.
Sure.
So this person had to somehow come up with that money, and then it's too late. Your child, until they're old enough to choose, stays there.
Correct.
What's the age that children get to choose in Texas?
12. And let me clarify something, because people interpret that so
Uh-oh.
many times when they come in my office.
Yeah.
A child does not get to choose who they want to live with and then they go live with their parent. It's two-pronged. They have to meet the statutory age requirement, which is 12. 12 years old, that essentially means the court must listen to what that child has to say.
That's for
If that
Texas.
child has something to say at 12, you got to listen to them. And they must find that it's in their best interest. So if a 12-year-old is just mad because daddy, he or she lives with daddy make her clean her room, do all these, chores, and mama over here, oh, I'm gonna buy you a cell phone, I'm gonna do all this, and the child say, I want to go live with my mama. Well, if the judge doesn't hear any reason to flip custody from dad, that child is not leaving to go live with mom. That child's gonna stay with daddy.
So we're talking cases of endangerment or a case where an extremely articulate 12-year-old can explain why they do want to start having a life experience with their other parent. And
Correct. Like some of the cases that I have, it's, a child is flunking in school with that other parent. A child is getting into
thank you
criminal
so much for
trouble
listening to
with
this
that
episode of
other
I Know I'm
parent.
Crazy with Not on
Running
your
away from
favorite
home,
streaming platforms,
fighting
every
all the
other
time
Tuesday.
at school,
Please
fighting
like, share,
siblings
subscribe.
within the
Leave
home,
us a
CPS
positive
being
review.
called
It
because
helps
of,
us so much. And I will
sexual
talk to you
abuse
all
allegations
week
or
after next,
physical
every other
abuse
Tuesday. I
allegations.
know I'm crazy. With
Those are the things that the court look at the age plus the best interest and determine, if something needs to change.
Okay. But other than that, it's gonna be a tough thing. And by the way, you all 12 is for the state of Texas. I'm not and I know it differs throughout different states in the country and throughout the world. So then how does your family feel about the show? I always love to ask guests, like, what do your loved ones, because now I know for a fact, Judge Vonda, you probably are out at brunch and people are like, wait a minute, I recognize you from Instagram or TikTok or YouTube.
Yeah.
How does your family react to this? Especially your son. What does he have to say?
My son, he thinks it's, he's so nonchalant. So he's like, yeah, that's cool. Or, yeah, he just so nonchalant. My dad and my husband are actually a couple of the bailiffs you've seen in the show. Some of the earlier shows, that bailiff is my dad. Some of the more recent shows, that bailiff is my husband.
Oh my goodness.
So they think it's cool. My little sister, we went to brunch one day and my phone was just blowing up. I mean, like notifications were coming crazy. And I was just on the phone like, and then she took my phone, turned it off and put it in her purse. She said, you need to be present.
And this is the sister that just graduated with her master's, right?
This is that sister, yes.
I saw that on your Instagram. You all got to go follow Judge Vonda. She shares like amazing stuff. So then judgeship. Let's talk about judgeship and the future and the trajectory of your career. Where's Judge Vonda going to be in 5 years? That's such a played out question, but I just want to know what.
I think it's very relevant. I'm currently running for family court judge right now in Dallas. The primary election is in March of next year, March of 2022. So I'm currently in campaign mode running for family court judge. And that is in the very near future because that bench would take place in January of 2023.
Okay.
So that's one direction. And then of course, support court with Judge Vonda B get picked up. It'll go there.
Okay. So how do we donate to the campaign? Because I want everybody to stop right now. I don't care if you're on the treadmill. If you are on the interstate, I need you to pull over. She's about to tell us all how to donate. Let me get my Android because y'all mess with me about having an Android. How can we donate to your campaign?
Today is actually, I have what's called a 7 days of donations. Okay. So you can pick which day you want to donate. But today is $2 Thursday. And you can
$22 Thursday. Okay.
Well, we can do $22 Thursday too. That works.
Let's do that.
Okay, sounds good. My Cash App is the money symbol Vote Vonda.
Vote.
PayPal is the @ Vonda B for judge.
Okay.
Venmo is the @ Vote and the hyphen Vonda.
Okay.
And if anybody wanted to send a check or anything like that, you can also do it by mail to my P.O. box. It is 475 East F as in Frank, M as in Mary, 1382, box 604, Cedar Hill, Texas, 75106.
Boom. And I'm going to list, for those of you that couldn't get all of that, I'm going to list it here. It'll be all the pages. It'll be probably popped up right on this video. Let's vote for her, you all. Let's just, and I had to just pause because you all know how the I Know I'm Crazy with Naja Hall community comes out to support. And clearly, if you have seen this woman's videos and if you've been listening to the sound of her voice, you can see that she stands on the side of right, the right thing for the family. And we all know that so many people in positions of power, those of us that have been on the wrong side of the family court system, we're talking to somebody and we're seeing somebody that's becoming a change agent. And we all talk about how we need more people like us in positions of power. And by like us, I mean people that are on the right side of the family, people that actually care about the law and know the law. So
Right.
now we have somebody that we can actually push and support getting into office. So let's do that. That was not my reason for asking her on this podcast, but we just had to take a moment to be able to support her. So please, 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 all of the links to support are below. Let's get our support in there. All right, Judge Vonda, I just had to do that real quick. I just had
Thank you.
Right. Yes. So then you're going to be judgeship. Let's just say 5 years from now, judgeship TV show. Would you do a TV show? Would you do like a network joint, or are you enjoying streaming?
Do it. I've actually gotten phone calls about, network shows and everything like that. That's one of those things that doesn't really happen overnight. If you know anything about entertainment law, it could be years,
Yeah.
just getting the fine tooth comb with the contracts and everything like that. So, it still can happen within the 5 years. I'm just excited, either way to have the option. And that's what I try to encourage people to do. Even my son, I tell him all the time, wanting to be a YouTuber or something like that, that's cool, but I want you to create something that the world needs. And the world needed support court because people needed to know, if I don't have the money to hire an attorney and I need to go in support court, I need to at least be prepared on what is going to be expected of me, what are some of the possible outcomes. And I think people needed to see that.
Yes, that's absolutely wonderful. Well, Judge Vonda, I know I told you I was going to only hold you not for too long because I know you got some litigation and some judging and some clients. Are you still taking clients right now? Are you open for business if people want to come and find you?
Yeah, I'm open for business. I do cap my caseload though. I used to, when I first started out, I wanted to take a bunch of clients, but the longer I've worked in the profession, I've been an attorney 7 years now, you just are not that efficient with all of those cases. So I'm capped. I only take about 8 cases, no more than 10 at a time.
And she cares about her clients because she really could be stacking and taking all the coins, but she's like, you know what? I can do both. You can do both. You are a busy woman running for judgeship, producing your TV show, parenting, wifing, being a phenomenal human being. Thank you so much for taking this moment out to talk to us. Can you tell everybody where to find you?
On Instagram, my business page is actual business / personal page is at no drama _ Vonda. That's my, slogan. No more drama with Vonda. Yeah. And then you can also follow the Vote Vonda page for judge is vote with the _ Vonda, and support court _ Judge Vonda B as well. I'm on Facebook and the same names pretty much on TikTok, Judge Vonda B,
we'll be
Vonda Bailey for 2022. If you Google
her,
it'll come up.
This is a situation where she's like, girl, do you really want all these links or you just want to Google me? This is a person that you can truly, and she is being as humble as she possibly can when she says is Google me. You can Google her. All right, everybody. This has been this has been another episode of I Know I'm Crazy with Naja Hall. We will see you Tuesday after next. As you know, we do new episodes every other Tuesday. I Know I'm Crazy with Naja Hall on your favorite streaming platforms.
I know I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. With Naja Hall.